It is my pleasure to be here, not just as a co-MC at the beginning, but actually doing a live presentation. And this is something that I had in my back pocket for a while and finally get an excuse to use it. It's something that all of us are going to reach at some point in our developer career is many to many tables. And there are a number of things that I do on every single one of them because the defaults never seem to be quite right. So my question for you is, have you ever built something on the Servicenow platform and then wished, "Oh man, I wish I'd done that differently?" The answer is almost always yes. And when it's something like a field label, you can fix that. Even a script, you can go back and edit as long as you don't mess with the parameters too much. But when it comes to the data model, the tables, they're a little more brittle. They're a little more, set in stone. That's the foundation of the stuff you build. And many to many tables is one of those things that if you get them wrong, you're going to kick yourself for a while. So, quick introduction. I'm Chuck Tomasi, been around the block a couple of times. Not going to do the wholesale introduction, but there is a QR code if you want to follow or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to do that for you. So, give you about 3 seconds to take a picture, screenshot, whatever it is you need. I am still out there. I'm not yesterday's newspaper thrown to the curb yet, but I am enjoying retirement very, very much. And yes, I'm still writing code. And with that, I get into this quick introduction. I want to back up before we get to a many to many table. I want to make sure we're all on the same base in terms of what is a reference field. Well, a reference field allows you to reference a record in another table, connection, if you will, and then you can use that. Common example is that caller field on the incident table. It's a reference to the sys user table, so I can reference a record out of there. Many to many tables are very similar. It's a table that sits in the middle with two reference fields, one that goes left and one that goes right. You could have users connected to groups. There is a sys user GR member table in the middle, an application that I made to keep track of my music. I can have many songs on many playlists. This is a many to many. So when you see M to M, it means many to many. Sorry if I lost you on that one. If I were organizing a party, I could have multiple events and multiple attendees. One person could go to multiple parties, and a party has multiple people. You kind of get the story on what a many to many table is in concept. But it's more than just a table with two reference fields. There is a system definition at the bottom of this. That's where we start. When you're in the old dev studio or in the new modern ServiceNow studio, you create this definition. You say, I want to connect the table songs with the table playlists. And that definition is how ServiceNow recognizes, oh, I should put an edit table on your related list because this is a many table. That's how it knows to do that. And in the table definition, it will then generate your many to many table. So there's two parts to this. Two parts. There's the definition, which is in sysm to m, and your table is wherever you decide to call it. To create this in ServiceNow Studio, we would go to the create button, pick your application. As of this recording in October 2025, you need to type in sysm2m and the little tile will come up. I'm told by good authority that with the creating many to many tables will have its own thing in the data model menu option, much easier to find, much easier to pick in the December 2025 release. Don't hold me to that, but there is a certain person who works at ServiceNow who shares my birthday that gave me that information. We pick that, make sure we're in the right scope, of course, and click continue. If you're doing this from the old legacy studio, it's file, create file. You go to data model, many to many definition. That one's in there. That one's been in there for a while. And you hit create. Or if you're like me, you double click many to many definition. What you get is the definition form. You put in the from table, you put in the to table, and it gives you a whole bunch of other stuff back. And step one is change that table name because the default, I'm going to be blunt, it sucks. It takes the scope name, then it adds underscore M to M underscore. Then it takes the prefix as much as it can from table one and as much as it can from table two. So if I were writing an event planner, maybe I'm going making parties and keeping track of people, I've got my event table and my person table in the scope. What comes out of that as a default table name looks like this. X SNC event planner, M to M, X SNC event pla. Under X, that is a terrible name. Nowhere in there does it say anything about people. It's just I wouldn't wanna type that as a developer later in some script. So, that's not gonna happen. Tip number 2, look at and change those field names. As a developer, I don't really give a rip about the scope in the field name. I want it called event and person, or maybe event and people, or something of that nature. These are what you will end up typing in your script. So by default, it is going to include the scope. And then you will have to remember every day for the rest of your life, oh, I need the scope on this field name, not the table name, the field name. Nowhere do I ever see this except in the default M to M tables, and you will hate yourself if you don't. Then take a look at and possibly change the labels. So, persons may or may not work with you. I would prefer to call that people or attendees if they're events, right? So, is it grammatically correct? Does it make sense? Finally, change the table label. You can do this wherever you please. This screenshot is obviously from the old Dev Studio, but look at that table name. Ooh, that's a nice label that I don't want to see at the top of any list. X underscore SNC event planner M to M events people. Good name for the table, but not good for human consumption. Yeah, that's what it would look like if you left it alone. Events peoples, not happening. So by default, we would get something like this. Let's walk through this process one at a time. Step one, I look at that table and go, no, I ain't doing that. I don't need the scope 3 times and nothing relevant. So I will change it to something like event person. This tells me what 2 tables are connected by looking at the table. Oh, it's my event table. It's my person table. Good for you. Next, go over to the fields. Take that scope out. Becomes event and person. Done. Step 3, look at those labels. Is person's the right term? This is what's going to show up on those tabs, on those related lists that you use for an event. It will be attendees. Well, in this case, it'll be persons until I change it to attendees. Events, yeah, that makes sense. I'm good with that. So, new and improved, love it. Much better. We are way ahead of where we were. If you were writing any script related to the first example, this is what you would be writing. Look at that glide record statement. Tasty. Look at that field name. When you're inside your while loop, grabbing these many to many records, and you have to remember, oh my God, I'm dot walking to the name, but I have to go, ugh. Okay. Go from that to this. Much better table name, much smarter field names. Look at this. Would you really expect anybody to remember that? No, thank you. Okay. So change those field names, change those table names. You'll be much happier when you do write your script later on. Changing that table label, very easy to do. I generally, if it's connecting the events and the people, then it becomes the attendee table. And make sure that label is singular because the system will put on the S for you automatically in English, blah, blah, blah. Safe disclaimer here. But that can be changed almost anywhere. You can go to sysdb object, you can go into your favorite studio, just relabel the table and be done with it. Bonus tip, avoid those plurals so you don't see attendees at the top of a form. It is attendee. Okay. If you somehow mess this up, which I have a number of times, there is no delete on the definition table in sysm to m. You can delete the resulting many to many table, that attendees table. You can delete that all you want, but that definition is stuck there. There's no delete button. I don't know why. Maybe they don't want you just willy-nilly deleting definitions. You can do this from scripts background or explore if you were on this morning session. Just copy that sysID, go in there, write a quick record to do the delete, or write a quick script to do the delete record, and away you go. So that's the bonus tip number 5. So it's change a table, check the fields, change the labels. You get it. Now, there are some CRUD considerations. Create, read, update, delete. That's what that stands for. If you are adding you can in fact add other fields to the many table. There's nothing sacred about it. It may be part of your process that you need to check. For example, in the song and playlist, the many to many table might actually need some more information. Maybe it's a request. Many people can make a request about many tables. I could add a state to that field. I could add an active field. You may have policies where people should not be deleting things. When you go into the slush bucket slash list collector on a many to many table and you're moving things from right to left and left to right, it's literally creating and deleting those many to many records. Maybe that's not such a good idea. Consider putting an active field on there and making a filter on your many to many table so you can keep that for later audit records. Also recommend you get familiar with cascade deletes. This is where if you delete a parent record, it deletes all the subsequent child records so you don't have them orphaned. You can also blank out values. There's several options you can use on cascade deletes. Look it up. It is a wonderful feature for any reference field. So you don't have orphan data. You don't have these tasks hanging around when the parent record is gone, going, well, what do you want me to do now? You can delete them if you're allowed to delete records, of course. So for references, the docs has this for creating many to many relationships, plus my 5 tips, and then cascade delete rules if you want to look into those. A lot of people don't know about those. Those are very, very handy. Takeaways: change the table name, change the field names, change the table label, and learn how to reset it, because chances are you'll forget one of the first 4 tips, and then 5 comes in really handy. It's just a simple glide record on CISA M to M. Make sure you're in the right scope, of course, and all that good takeaways. So, feedback on this is greatly appreciated. If there's any questions and answers, I'd be happy to look at the chat now. And you can go to theknowledge.com/feedback, or there's the way over on that side of the screen. If you're watching this later, then you go to theknowledge.com/feedback. If you're watching it live, you can click on the little feedback bubble over there. I'd appreciate any comments or suggestions. Let's see. Question mark. There is a limit to the custom fields that can be added to a many to many table without consuming a custom table, right? I'm not going to get into anything about custom tables and licensing and whatnot, but I haven't, it behaves just like a regular table. So whatever the table limit is, 4,000 fields or something ridiculous like that, if I remember my MySQL slash MariaDB somewhat correctly. Of course, now everybody's moving to Raptor, so all of that's obsolete. I'm getting old and becoming like yesterday's newspaper, but it's a lot. Don't worry about how many fields you can add there. I have added 20 or 30 without a concern. It becomes part of the process, so I add the fields that help drive that process. Oh, let's see. Any other questions? I didn't see any question marks. So we be good. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much. I know this was a quick one, and have a wonderful conference. And if you're watching this later, thanks for watching. Take care.